Hi. So this is day 2 of me going live every day for 14 days in the run up to my new program, which is called Your Thing, Sure Thing. And hey, Kat, I can see that you have just joined me on Instagram. So I'm currently live on Instagram and on my Facebook page. Which is kind of fun for me. As someone who used to hate going live at all in the first place. Yeah, kind of in 2 different places. So this is fun. Today I am talking about being perfect and what that does for your business and what that does for your life and where it comes from. And I see so many people who are aiming for perfectionism. As so many people, I kind of hold my hands up. I am someone who is a recovering perfectionist and quite a sneaky perfectionist because it's not even about things having to be perfect necessarily. I look like I've got over that. I talk like I've got over that, but still things need to be a certain way. And if they're not done a certain way, I can still feel really uncomfortable. And I have very high standards for myself and others. And I know that a lot of you, hey Janet, can relate to that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Be Perfect driver. And people like Janet will have heard me talk about this before. I'm hoping the quality is good enough. I've just had a notification up on my Facebook page saying the stream quality has been automatically lowered because the internet connection wasn't fast enough. So I'm hoping that you can both see me still and that I'm not pixelated. We will wait and see whether a few more people kind of join in and kind of come into this conversation. But what I'm talking about today is perfectionism. So give me some love hearts or some likes on either streams if you know what I'm talking about, if you have experienced this feeling of wanting to be perfect or holding yourself to a almost unobtainable, or probably yes, unobtainable standard of perfectionism, or standard that you expect of yourself and sometimes of others, how things should be. So if you can relate to this, even if you're on the replay, particularly if you're on the replay, please do give me some likes. Let me know. Let me know. Yes, that's me. Yes, I agree. Yes, I have held myself to that kind of standard. And what I really wanted to, the work that, in case you want to go and do some more investigation into this, when I'm talking about the Be Perfect driver, I'm talking about something that kind of comes through or is talked about quite a lot in transactional analysis, sometimes called TA. And they're known as Carla's, I think I'm saying that right, Kayla's drivers. And drivers are the way grown-ups encouraged us to behave so that we would fit their expectation of good behavior when we were young. And so in reasonable quantities, these drivers are effective in creating functional and successful adults. But when people don't know when to stop or haven't got really good boundaries around it, or understand that they are good enough and that they are inherently good humans and worthy of love, regardless of whether or not they exhibit these behaviours, that's when dysfunctional behaviour can set in and it causes us stress and coping mechanisms and other things that come up. And so there are, in the TA model, there are 5 key core drivers, which are hurry up. And so maybe you had a parent who was like, come on, hurry up, around like getting in the car, and you learned to know that like if you were there with everything ready, then you were the good kid and you were going to get extra, well done, extra praise or extra love. And so often hurry up is a driver that we see in some people. The Be Perfect driver is often I guess the worst case scenario of that is perhaps you had parents or authority figures who, when you got a really good grade, when you got like 98% on something, instead of saying, oh my God, that's amazing, you must have studied really hard, it's fantastic that you did well on this, they might say something along the lines of, if you can get 98%, why didn't you get 100? Or you could get, let's aim for 100 next time, right? And so there was always this expectation that you could do better, that you could be better, that you could be more perfect, that there was a higher level to achieve. And instead of congratulating you on what you had done, perhaps there was an emphasis that you could do more. And then there is the try hard driver. which is, you were rewarded for trying hard. Perhaps effort was rewarded in your household. And what you can tell from these is like, there is no blame on this. This is not about our parents. This is not about the authority figures. It's not how we were encouraged or praised. It's what happens when we don't have healthy boundaries on that, or when we hung on to something and overdo this behavior where it is a singular force is driving us. So the try hard one can actually stop people from being successful. It can stop them from winning. It can stop them from creating wealth or having money, because they were celebrated for trying hard. Now, if you've succeeded, you're not trying hard. So that's a really interesting one that it can be useful to unpack. Then there is the be strong. Lots of men get this, but it does. I remember, very much feeling that this was a driver, and an important driver in my childhood as well. So all of us can have it, but you must be strong. You must, in order to be a good behavior, in order to be a good human, in order to receive appreciation and positive strokes, you needed to be strong. You needed to hold it all together. Be strong, have no tears, hold it together. That kind of stuff might have been an important driver in your household. And then the fifth one that I see a lot of people having as well is the please people. We must, maybe you watched your mum do this. A lot of people saw their mother please people or say something one way, or we must do this to appease people or to show up in a certain way. And so the goal really when we look at these 5 drivers is to look at where there is compulsive driven behaviors under conscious control, by bringing underlying drivers into awareness and then exploring them. Okay, so this isn't about saying anyone's broken. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. All of us have different drivers. They can be positive or negative drivers, things that encourage us to get up and keep moving and to do things differently, or to be motivated in some way. So if you want to find out more about this, it is a transactional analysis model. It is by Kahler, which is K-A-H-L-E-R-S. So Kahler's drivers, and there are 5 of them. So I've just run through those ones. And you might have any of those running in your field or in your behavior and the way that you show up in the world. And the one I wanted to focus on particularly today is the be perfect one. But maybe you identify with hurry up. Maybe you identify with try hard. Maybe you identify with be strong, and maybe you identify with please people. There are a lot of people that have the kind of people pleaser thing, right? Like, we must show up for other people, we must do what other people want in order to be a good girl or be a good boy or whatever it is. And so the question that I'd love you to ask yourself and step into is, which of these key drivers do you recognize most in yourself? And what are some of the strengths and limitations of each of them? And then what are the implications of this if you run a business, if you are self-employed? What are the implications of the drivers? And perhaps it's in your business. Like, what are the in your relationships? That could be business relationships, but it would also be personal relationships. What are the implications of being driven by hurry up, be perfect, try hard, be strong, and please people? And what would it be like to be driven by something else instead? So the first step in this is to recognize, so what? Recognize these drivers in yourself and in other people, and then check in and go, oh, I'm being driven by this thing. Actually, who says I must be perfect? Who says what enough is? Or what is enough for myself? Like, am I good enough? What is perfect? Define these things for yourself so that you can really check in. Like, is this real? Is this what I want to be driven by? Because you can choose to be driven by whatever it is that you want to be driven by. And it's when these are unconscious drivers that we can get into compulsive behavior that isn't serving us. So then the next question that you could ask yourself is, what will happen if I don't obey these drivers? What bad things will happen? What good things would happen? What would happen if I wasn't being driven by the need to be perfect? And there are some really interesting questions that you can then go on to ask yourself around, in particular, the be perfect driver. Okay, so So I'm going to share some more questions on this. I hope this is helpful. If you've got any questions, so you can put them in the comments. And if you are watching on the replay, or if you're watching on the replay, then tag me and let me know, and I'll come back and ask me. If you're watching on Instagram, just DM me. And if you're watching on my Facebook or on my YouTube, tag me and I will come back and answer the question. But the first thing is understanding, is it imperative? Must you be perfect? Is there a correct way? Must you succeed at everything you do? Must you get top marks? Must you win? If so, why? What will happen if you do, and what will happen if you don't? And just journal on these. Check out what is true for you. Where is this coming from? Is this still true for you? And then looking at so you might be able to recognize this in yourself or in other people, where you're using exacting language. So people who have this driver very often use qualifications of things. When they're not sure, they'll say probably, and when they are sure, or when there is an absolute, they'll say it absolutely must be this, or it absolutely must be that, or probably is going to be like this. They're very clear in the determination that they use. Hi Skates, I'm talking transactional analysis and talking about the Be Perfect driver today. So so the other way to identify if you are somebody, or you are working with, or in a relationship with somebody who has the Be Perfect driver going on, is they're never completely satisfied with what they're doing. Hey Susie! And they often come across as quite neat or well groomed, or they'll like things in a certain way, they'll have things in a particular way, and that will be perfect for them, or they're aiming towards and a very exacting way of being. And so the benefits of the Be Perfect driver are that these people are always hardworking and with an excellent quality of output, right? But it can also mean that they are slow at putting stuff out, or that they are never completely satisfied with what they put out. They can have a very high level of criticism, self-criticism, and expectations for themselves and of others. And they are high achievers. They are people who achieve really well, but may not necessarily ever notice or feel good about their achievements. And so the fear that can come up for a lot of people with the Be Perfect driver is a fear of failure, of losing control. And then what happens is this kind of subsequent overcompensation, where they show up, where they take responsibility for everybody else's actions and responsibilities as well as themselves. And they want to be in control of all of it. They want to be in control of themselves, but they're also their outcomes, also their partners, also their business plan, everyone. They want to be in control of it all. And often when I'm working people with a Be Perfect driver, I can check in with them, like, whose responsibility is the results? Particularly when it's a client relationship, it can be really tempting, if you've got this thing driving you, that you want to be delivering perfect results. You want them to show, you want your clients' results to be a certain way, but you cannot do the work for other people. You can't have other people be perfect as well. And so it can lead to overwork. It can lead to not finishing things for fear of criticism. Like, the biggest fear is, what will everyone think? How will it be received? This is often evidence that you have this Be Perfect. I must be perfect. I must be the best. I must win. I must be better than everybody else. I must be this incredible high standard in everything that you do. And so it can also mean that you can expect others to be perfect too. And so you can create this tiny little window in which other people are good enough for you, even though you think that you're doing you're showing up hugely. You can end up resenting other people, or feeling like they're not putting in enough work. And if any of this resonates for you, if you're landing with this and going, okay, I think I may have this Be Perfect driver running, I want to remind you that there are really great benefits to being driven by this way. The people with this running in their field or in their makeup are incredible high achievers. They get amazing things done. And they can also be their own worst enemy and never ever feel good enough, which is a really horrible feeling on the inside, right? So I want to talk a little bit about treatment. Now I'm putting treatment in brackets because it's something we just want to disrupt this pattern. We just want to bring awareness to it. We want to change it. We want to find another way of interacting so that we do feel good enough even when we're out of control, even when things haven't gone our way, even when bad stuff is happening. And so the first thing is laughter. Is to learning to laugh and find comedy in these scenarios and situations, learning to find the humour in things not going your way or not turning out how you expected or not being good enough, finding some humour and laughing. And then the other thing is to start praising yourself or others, if you see this in other people, for less than perfect work. Right? Praise yourself for failure. Praise yourself for trying. Praise yourself for finishing. Praise yourself for engaging. Praise yourself for being courageous. Find other things other than perfection or, this massively high expectation. The other thing is to set really clear, like, at what point will you celebrate? What will you celebrate you for? Use those exacting standards that you have for yourself in another way, in a constructive way. And reframing what perfect really means. Does it mean good enough? Does it mean getting out there? Does it mean being courageous? Does it mean trying? Does it mean participating? Does it mean feeling comfortable? What does it mean? What else could it mean? Does it mean doing excellence? Does it mean giving your best in that moment? Not your best ever performance, but your best in that moment with what you've got. And learning to be very, very specific with criticism and praise so that you know what it is specifically that you're criticizing or that you're praising. Because then you will feel it, then it will land. You'll be like, oh, it's that. It's not generally that I'm an awful person, or it's not generally that I'm, people are just saying I'm fantastic, so I don't believe them. Be really specific. So I hope that was helpful. I just wanted to jump on really, really quickly today and share about the Be Perfect driver and some ways that you can change this behavior or recognize the drivers and then do something differently in order to feel happier now in your life and in your business and in your work and in your relationships, because that's what I want for you. I want you to create a life that feels as good on the inside as it perhaps looks on the outside. You are not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. You are a fucking awesome human being. And you get to know that for yourself by doing this work. Now, if you would like to find out more about the kind of things that you can do to reprogram what's going on in your brain, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about how you show up in the world, then I have a program that's called Your Think Sure Thing. We are going live we'll start the program on the 1st of May. I'm opening the cart on Easter Monday, which is a week today, on the 22nd of April. And I'd really love to answer your questions if you have any questions at all. I'd really, really love to do that. And I hope that this has been helpful. Janet said it has, so fantastic. Thank you, Janet, for staying with me and watching. I really appreciate it. But if you're watching on the replay, please feel free to ask any questions. It's really, really lovely to have you with me. Bye.